Need my blanket. Always. Because it's so chilly. Hey, welcome to today's video. My name is Jessie, and today I'm going to be reacting to some bunk. Hey, welcome to today's video. My name is Jessie, and today I'm going to be reacting to some unpopular bookish opinions. I asked over on my TikTok and here on YouTube in my community tab. So we're going to take a look at those, and we're just going to be talking about them. I'm going to tell you whether or not I disagree. Let's get into it. Heck yeah. First up. Let me set this down before I spill it everywhere. As a person who loves a good romantasy from time to time, I hate how so many people will only read fantasy if it has romance in it. I agree with this one. I love romance in my books, but I'm somebody who likes romance as more of a subplot, so I don't necessarily like a strict romance book, but I love fantasy. It's my favorite genre, and of course when there's a bonus romance subplot in there, I love it so much. As somebody who likes romance in my books, I still don't understand why people will only read books if it has romance in it. It's kind of like when you give a book recommendation and then the comments are like the only thing someone cares about is if it's spicy. There's so much more to books than a romance story. The story of a book itself and the plot is so important, and that's what makes a lot of people love reading. So it is kind of crazy that a lot of people will only read for romance, but I don't know. Alright, so these next two, I'm going to put them together. It says DNF should not count, and then reading manga and graphic novels should not count in your reading goals. So these are both talking about reading goals. I actually disagree with both of these. I'm gonna start with the DNFs. I can see if you're soft DNFing, then I wouldn't count that towards a reading goal because you're gonna come back to it and you haven't completed the book. But I think if you read a book and you know that you're not liking it and you're never gonna finish it, then that should count, or I would count it for my reading goal at least, because I know that I'm never gonna come back to that book. I had my experience with that book, and then that is my experience. I would personally count a DNF for myself. I actually have never heard anybody say that they don't count DNFs. I feel like a lot of people would think that though, that they wouldn't count DNFs either. I'm surprised I haven't heard that one yet. And then as for manga and graphic novels, I would definitely count manga and graphic novels too. Obviously I have manga behind me right here. I have not read any of these. I've seen the animes for them, but I just have them because I like the animes, and if I want to go back into that world, I would pick up the manga instead of necessarily rewatching the anime. So I do want to read these eventually. But with manga or graphic novels, you can read so many of them in a day. Like, I could probably sit here and read all 23 of my Demon Slayer volumes in a day, or in one sitting. That counting as 23 books towards a reading goal would be crazy to me, but I still read them, so I would count them towards something. It's different for everybody, but for me, I don't really focus on a reading goal. I only focus on the number because of Goodreads, and that's literally it. Like, before Goodreads, I didn't care about how many books I was reading. I didn't keep track of it at all. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't care, or I wouldn't even think of counting anything towards a reading goal. I would just be reading. I'm curious to see if anybody else agrees with these, so let me know in the comments. The next one says, audiobooks is not classed as reading when it actually is. I think this is meaning that audiobooks do count as reading, and yeah, they do. Are you actually physically reading words with your eyeballs? No, you're listening to them. They're going through your ear holes, but you're reading the book. Like, you're taking in the book the same way that somebody physically reading the book would be. I can see both sides, because I think people who say audiobooks don't count as reading take the definition of reading literal, like they only view it as using your eyes to read words. If you're just throwing the word reading around nonchalantly, then yeah, listening to an audiobook is taking in that book and reading that book. I would say so. If you're in a bookstore, and let's just talk about, let's see, what book? Divine Rivals. If somebody's in that section and they have Divine Rivals in their hands and they've never read it before, and you're next to them and they turn to you and they're like, oh, have you read this book? If you listen to the audiobook, you're not gonna say, no, I haven't read that book, right? You're gonna tell them you read the book. You don't even have to mention the fact that you listened to it on audio. Quite honestly, people who listen to audiobooks are probably getting more from a story than physically reading. A lot of people, if you're reading the book, you're possibly skipping over a lot, or you're not hearing every word in your head. I can't do audiobooks though. My brain does not let me. I would like to try it one day. Like, Allie Hazelwood just came out with, I think it's called Two Can Play or something. It's like a short story about video game people, I don't know. But it's only in audiobook format right now. And I would really like to try to listen to that, but I don't think my brain would let me. Okay, that was all my YouTube ones. Next, we're moving on to the TikTok ones. I'm just going to read these in the orders that it was showing up in my comments. The first one says, reading is always without exception political, even in your smutty books or if you read to escape. And then adding on, well, this is kind of different, but it says, also, ACOTAR is awful and is full of racist stereotypes. When I joined Book Talk, I had my eyes open to so many problematic authors, and it's crazy that over here on BookTube, nobody talks about it. I think it's very important. If you have watched my channel for a while, you know that I've attempted some series by SJM and I didn't like them. They just aren't the type of books that I want to read. Yeah, it was actually crazy seeing that one of the most popular authors that everybody and their mother knows about is not necessarily a good person. So that information's out there. If you want to go look at that it's on the internet. I feel like I'm not in the place to speak on it because I don't know every detail and I can't talk about it as well as some other people can. Like, I have watched so many videos on this topic, and there are people out there that know what they're talking about and that articulate the words very, very well. I recommend going out there and finding those videos and people or articles. There's so much. Anyway, going back to the first one, reading is political. I don't know if people who only watch BookTube would know about this. There is a lot on BookTok. Just about everything. Like, there's a lot going on BookTok. But people are saying that reading isn't political, which is crazy because, like this person said, even in your smutty books or if you read to escape, the simplest book is still political. A book in itself is political. The act of reading is political. This next one, I believe this person is talking about the Crescent City series. I think they commented again and said something about Crescent City. They said people going to the ends of the earth for theories in the next book and then getting mad when they're wrong and saying the book was bad. Which, yeah, that's crazy. Reading is fun. When you're reading a series and you're trying to guess what's gonna happen, yeah, it's disappointing when you want something to happen in a book and it doesn't end up going that way because maybe you think that it would have been such a great way for the book to go or a character's storyline or whatever. So I can see why it can be really upsetting, but if the actual outcome of that book still makes sense and isn't bad, then you shouldn't call the book bad, you know, just because it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. As with theories, I'm not somebody who really is in any strong, like, book fandoms, I would say. I don't see a lot of theories talked about, and that might be because when I'm reading a series, I don't try to go out and see people's reviews or what they think about that book or what's going to come in the next book because I try so hard not to get spoiled when I'm reading books or series. So maybe if I did do that and see what people were saying more about the books I'm currently reading, then I would see theories for the future books in a series. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really heard of any theories for anything. I believe that people go to the ends of the earth for a theory in a book. But yeah, if you don't get what you want, I don't think the book should be bad as long as the writing itself was good. Next one is one I really agree with. This says, no one needs a bajillion copies of the same book just because special editions come out. This bad boy right behind me, this version of the Popular, well, actually, okay, both of these are special editions. I think these are the only ones I have, which I'm not like trying to toot my own horn or anything and saying like, I don't buy special editions. I don't feel like I need multiple copies of the same book. I love book covers, so if a new cover comes out and I really want it, then I'd probably pick it up, but it is a very hard choice for me to make. Just because if I already owned that book previously and I have the copy of it, then why do I need it, you know? If it's a book that you absolutely adore, it's one of your favorites, then I say, hey, pick up special editions. But at the same time, I don't get why people need a lot of special editions. They're pretty. But I think now at this point, there are so many special editions coming out. There's so many sprayed edges on books now. I do not care at all. Like, I see a sprayed edge on a book and they don't even affect me the way that they used to. I used to think they were so cool, but now it's like they all have them and it kind of defeats the purpose of a sprayed edge. It was so exciting to see one before and now I see them everywhere and I don't even like them anymore. Next we have, it is okay to not like the books others like. Let me start over. I don't know how to read. It is okay to not like books others like, but it is also okay to like books that others hate. Reading is unique to each individual and we put too much pressure on liking what others like. I agree with this one. I have books that I absolutely hate that are popular, and that's okay. Like this says, it is completely okay to not like a book that others like, but it is also okay that they like those books. As long as a book is well written, then yeah, if people like it, that's completely fine. Everybody has opinions. Think of it as music taste, I guess. I don't like country music, but am I hating on people that like country music? Maybe a little. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I like some country songs, but I literally don't like country music. I listen to people screaming in my ears the whole song, and people hate that. And is that fine? Yes, these things exist for people to like. Everybody's just different though. And what fun is it if we're all the same? But with this one, there is so much pressure on people liking certain books. And I feel like it never used to be this way, but ever since BookTok took off or reading really got popular after 2020, it's like some people just really get so defensive over books that they like and people hating on them, which I understand. Some people are brutal when they hate on books, and that, like, to me is a little excessive unless it's actually a really, really bad book. It's fine, guys. We're all gonna be nice. We're all gonna like the books that we like and hate the books that we hate, and it's fine. It's all good. Next one. Third person is better. I don't want to constantly know the character's thoughts. I like this one as well. I see a lot of people refuse to read third person. One of my unpopular opinions is that I do think third person is better. First person is definitely easier to read. You get into the character's mind more. But third person, you also get to know the character's feelings and what is going on in their head. It's just written differently. So you can still get all that. You can take all that in. But I feel like you also get so much more with third person. You get more on the world. It's also sometimes nice to not know everything the character's thinking, like this says. It makes reading the book more fun as well, to me personally, because I don't want to know everything up front. And sometimes that's like with dual POV in a romance book, or I guess anything. You're getting both sides, but when you read a book that is told from just the main character's perspective, and you don't know all the other secrets that you would find out if it was a dual POV. Once you get to the end and those secrets become uncovered or you get information on the other character, it's so fun. I guess whatever your preference is and how you want a book to go, but I do think third person takes things away in a good way. Next we have plot and world building is more important than the spice. I could go without, honestly. Personally, I could go without as well. I feel like this is talking about fantasy since we're dealing with world building. I don't have anything against that stuff being written in books. People read books for that reason and to get that out of a book. And then, like me, I read a book for the storyline and the plot. Like, I like more plot driven books more than character driven books. Yeah, I find myself a lot of times when I'm reading and there's a whole bunch of spice scenes, it makes me not like the book. I think because I don't like repetition in books at all, and just getting that scene over and over again. Well, even if it's not too often, but if it's more than 3 chapters in a book, I'm over it. And then this next one, it says reading a book or genre with the intention to trash it on the internet. That's all it says. I don't know if this person is saying that they read a book to trash it on the internet. I feel like that's not, but the way that it's worded, there's nothing else that is telling me that. I don't know which way this is going, but I'm just gonna assume that this person doesn't like when people do this. If we're looking at it in a way where people reading books or genres to just trash it on the internet, yeah, that's insane. I've definitely seen this before. I think with romance a lot as well, because romance books, let's all be honest, they're a little cringy, they're cheesy, but they're also fun, you know? So that's why they're fun to read. I like romance books. People read it and they just trash on it, which, like, at that point, what are we doing? Why are you going out of your way to read something that you know you're not gonna like for the sole purpose of letting other people know that you don't like it? It doesn't make sense to me. Next we have some of us just read for the vibes. Writing could be crap, but if it makes us feel good while reading it, it's a 5-star. I have read books that have some very, very good vibes, and I've rated books 5 stars based off of vibes only, even if they weren't the best books. I think a lot of people have done that before. This is a circumstance where reading is different for everybody. I like to pick out books a lot of the times that really speak to my heart, and they are very well written. They have a lot of great quotes about life and all of these issues that people are facing in the world, and these books that have so much meaning. I love those books, and those are a lot of times 5-star reads for me. But I also just love to dive into a book that is not necessarily well thought out, but it's fun. And there are people out there who only like to read, say, literary fiction, and they hate, like, the popular book talk books. I'm on both sides, so I am just getting loads of fun from everywhere. But it's funny being in my position and willing to read anything. It's funny seeing so many people dislike certain genres or certain books because of how they're written. I've read bad books, let's be honest. Can I necessarily rate them 5 stars? No, but I've also read some really, really good books and have rated those 5 stars, or I've not rated them 5 stars. But yeah, if we're reading for the vibes, that's good. I like that. It just goes to show that people pick up books for different reasons. And honestly, I'm happy because so many people used to hate on reading in the past. Like, I've loved reading ever since I was little, since I could read. Elementary school, I was always reading a book. I was always in the library checking out a new book. So many people just hated on people for reading back when I was in school. And now it's like, reading is so normal. So I love where reading has gotten. I love that so many people are picking up books now, but it also comes with people being so judgy. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. People who are tired of tropes/cliches need to give focused effort to reading books not written by white people and or men. You're not tired of books, you're tired of the same paradigms over and over. I somewhat agree with this one. I will be completely honest, I'm somebody that is tired. Well, I'm tired of books being marketed by their tropes. If it wasn't for that, then I would be fine with tropes in books. Like, I don't really read a book and then pick out all the tropes or like make a list of them and be like, okay, well, this book had this and this and this. That doesn't bother me. When books are marketed as the tropes, that does bother me. But yeah, I do agree with the fact that people need to branch out on their authors and the diversity when it comes to reading and picking up books, because if you're getting the same thing over and over again, it's just going to be all the same and it's going to feel old really quick. Just like if you read the same genre back to back, it gets tiring. Because when I read a lot of romances in a row, I'm over it. You know, I feel like I'm reading the same thing. But even like fantasy is my favorite genre, and I can read more fantasy books in a row, but then I do get tired of them at some point. But it's nice to branch out, because when you have authors from different places in the world, when they grew up in different countries, different races, you get a different viewpoint on life and these characters and those settings in the world. And it's very, very important, because why would you not want to live your life seeing what other people go through and how they live their lives? Even if it is fictional and you're meeting fictional characters, they do reflect different people in those certain cultures. I mean, yeah, if you're getting old of some of the books you're reading, maybe take a step back and see if you're reading the same authors. There's so many lists out there, or just go to your bookstore. Look at the back of the book, look at the author, go to their social media. There's so many opportunities to read different books. Okay, this next one is the one that I agree with the most. The more the time goes on, I feel like more and more people agree with this one. I hate epilogues in books. They're all the same. They get married and have kids. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not everyone's version of a happily ever after. This one is obviously catered to the romance genre. I agree with this one because that's not my version of a happily ever after. Like, quite honestly, do I see myself getting married? I don't know. Like, if it happens, then that's exciting. Like, even from when I was a kid, I never used to imagine a wedding. I still have not imagined a wedding for myself or what I would want in a wedding, and I'm in my mid-20s. And I don't want kids. So when I read every romance book epilogue and it's a few years later and they're getting married or they have these kids, like, yeah, it's nice. That's the beauty of life, but I also just don't care. I think the main reason why I hate this is when you're reading a romance book, you know what's gonna happen. When you read any other genre of book, you can guess where the ending's gonna go. Obviously, are probably thinking that it's gonna have a happy ending, but it might not. I feel like every romance book, though, it does have a happy ending. You know where it's going. They're gonna find love, and then they're gonna live happily ever after. So at that point, when the book ends and their story's wrapped up, they're together, you knew that was gonna happen. I don't feel like I need the epilogue. And it's actually crazy that I think romance books are the most popular books to have an epilogue. Like fantasy books, if you have an epilogue, you have that whole entire world. You want to see where the world is going, maybe a little after the fact that the book ended. Not necessarily just the character, but you want to know how the world is holding up because you went the whole book getting the world to where it is. But romance is it's just the characters, you know? It's just their love. And I don't care about their love after they are already in love. Okay, this one's funny and I do agree with this one as well. It says smut is overrated and annoying in fantasy books. The whole world's fate is on her shoulders, but she can't think of anything but getting it on. Please. Yeah, please, because what book did I just read? Oh, I think it was the Sacred Stones trilogy. Mind you, I did like those books. There's so much potential for the world to be completely chaotic. Like the story can go in so many different directions and you get excited for that because it's, you know, a fantasy, whatever. But then the characters, like the two people who are in love, they don't care about where the world is going. And it's like, you two are the people that can save the world. So what are you doing? I know that when I read the Sacred Stone trilogy, mind you, it was such a fun book. I liked the characters, but I just couldn't get over the fact that there was a war going on and they did not care about their people at all or trying to save them. They were just doing it the whole time. And I was like, okay, yikes. Like, guys, your world is about to be destroyed, and your people are about to be destroyed, and you don't care? Like, you're not trying to come up with any tactic to make this better? Okay, next. I couldn't crop this one as small, so you get my little picture down there. Dog earing a page isn't the end of the world. I do agree with this one as well. I feel like the same amount of people who hated these in the past still hate them to this day, and the people who didn't care, they still don't care. I don't dog ear my books. I don't like it for my books, but if I see someone doing it, I don't care. It does not affect me at all, and I don't think they're crazy. Now, mind you, if it's a book that you need to return to the library or keep in good condition, then yeah, I don't like that. Don't do that. Or if you're borrowing a book from someone and you just destroy the book, that is so terrible. If it's your own book, do what you want. Moving on to the next one. This one is another book talk type situation. Most books that blow up on book talk are just overhyped 3-star or 4-star rates. See, for me, 3 and 4-star ratings are really, really good. I think with this one, like if it said 2 to 3-star reads, I would agree with it a little more. Trust me, I've gotten some good recommendations from Book Talk, or these popular books, if you will, but I've also read books that I'm just amazed at how many people like the book. It's different too because there's a lot of different ways that Book Talk goes. There are people out there who do give recommendations that I personally like or I want, and then there's, you know, the more popular Book Talk books where you walk into a bookstore and you see that Book Talk table. Then do I think a lot of those aren't the best written books? Yeah, I do find them a little overhyped at times, but I've also found some really good ones. It just depends. It really does. I think books become popular for certain reasons if they're easily likable by many different people. But if you're somebody who has been reading books for a long, long time, then you definitely have more of a picky book taste. When we think of Book Talk and the books that are being popular on Book Talk, you have to come from the perspective of somebody that is just getting into reading or they haven't been reading for a while. Because if you look at it that way, then yes, it's very easy to see why these books are popular among these people. But I would honestly even go to say they were maybe some 2-star reads. Because 4-star is really good. We only have a couple more. This next one says, hating on the Goodreads choice nominees / winners and complaining it's a popularity contest and saying it's trash, essentially saying that people who voted for it have bad reading taste. So this is kind of tying into what I just said with the popularity and these books that are becoming popular. It's very easy to draw in people that are new to reading. And obviously these books are on these lists for a reason. Is Goodreads the best place to get a list of books? No, I don't think so. Their lists are accurate to what people are reading, and whether or not we like the outcome of that, hey, it's what your friends are reading. It's what your neighbors are reading. Whether you like it or not, these books are on those lists, but all we can do if you don't like this situation is to try to put out more diverse books out there, or books that a lot of people have not heard about before. But once again, that's very hard because it's just like you know, with, I guess, award shows, all the nominees. If it's someone that is a huge celebrity, you know they're probably gonna win. A lot of things with media is a popularity contest, and I don't think we're ever gonna get out of that situation. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we should hate on them, but it does suck that the majority of people aren't reading different books. I guess that's all I have to say about that one. I don't know. The last one I have, going back to romance again, a lot of authors rely too heavily on the romance in their books. 95% of them would be better with little to no romance, and they're talking about sci-fi and fantasy. So I mean, I've talked about this in this video multiple times already. I am still dying to read a romance book that hits everywhere. I see a lot of people questioning like where the tension has gone in romance books as well, even fantasy, because a lot of romantasy now, they're getting the romance in the fantasy plot or this world, but the tension is gone. And if it's a fantasy book, there has to be tension with a romance, right? Because there's a lot of high stakes going on. I will always love romance, but I do think a lot of authors may be putting it in there just to cater to a bigger audience. Yeah, obviously you want to bring more people in to read your books, but I do think a lot of new books that are coming out, they're a lot of the same. My battery's gonna die. Hold on. Okay, I'm back with my brain. It was 2 seconds, but I don't remember what I was talking about. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm trying to think of some of my unpopular opinions. What are some of mine? I feel like I just need to look at some books and maybe it will stick out to me. So let's maybe talk about some popular opinions that I have. Well, we'll see. We'll find out. If you agree with any of my opinions that I'm about to say, let me know. I think when books get released, they should come out in paperback and hardcover at the same time because, you know, I'm sick of waiting. I'm just gonna do these rapid fire, I guess, because I want to dive into another one already. I think that authors should take more time between publishing books. The waiting does suck. Yes, don't get me wrong. I think a lot of authors are pushing out books so fast now that they're not possibly hitting like they could, or you're finding a lot of mistakes in them, whether it's with editing or it's just they seem a little bland. If we had more time spent on writing these books, they could be so much better. It seems like in the past we got so, like, it took years for another book to come out, whether it be just the same author or in the same series. And now sometimes it's less than a year, which is crazy. I mean, if you can write that and it's 100% the way that the author wants it to go, then that's not an issue. There's got to be some authors out there that are just writing books to get books out there, and I don't think that's okay. I want a better quality book than a quantity, you know what I mean? What else? Let's just talk about some book things. I wish author signings and book tours were more popular because I feel like authors would come to more places. It's always like California, New York, and maybe around where the author lives. I still wish that they would come to more cities because it'd be fun to meet the authors, get your book signed, you know, or when a new book is getting released. I feel like it would be so much fun. I've never met an author before. I've never done a book signing, but they're always so far away. Yeah, all in all, reading is fun. I very much enjoyed just sitting here chatting. Please, please, please leave your comments on your unpopular opinions. I would love to hear them. I love reading unpopular opinions. I could have like gone onto Reddit too and found some from there, but I feel like I would have definitely gotten carried away, and we don't want that. I will see you in my next video, whatever that may be. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe. I'm so awkward. Why do I have a channel? How do I do this? I hope you have a great day or a great night wherever you are, and I'll see you later. Bye.